I did realize with maybe trying a few things or trying to sell a couple things, energy drinks or whatever it was, I was like, holy crap, this stuff is hard.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, how am I going to be successful? Well, I saw somebody on stage, and that's that direction piece where it's like, well, just follow what successful people have done. This guy obviously did really well, and he runs a business. He was confident up on stage. He spoke very well, and I was like, that might make sense to be able to just go and learn a little bit about and have an open mind and see what was good with it. And then the money was great.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for sharing episodes with your buddies that need to know what they need to do to be excellent. We are here with a wonderful guest, Austin Killian, co-founder of Home Genius Exteriors. He's going to talk about facing challenges and then facing more challenges and these kind of turns in life that he faced and how that caused him to decide to push for more challenges. He's going to talk about the mentality of going out there and making it happen. We're going to get into his morning routine. We're going to get into his success. We're going to get into how to build a billion-dollar business for yourself by the time you're 32. Welcome to the Edge of Excellence. Well, Austin, you're out there moving and shaking at a young age, and we've tried a couple times to get this podcast done, but you had to get married while we were trying to get it done, and you're making time after a wedding with some sort of crazy internet outage going on in the U.S. today. You're still here to share your wisdom. Thanks for making time and coming on the Edge of Excellence.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me. Yeah, the outage and wedding, that's not going to stop us. That's for sure.
Well, the wedding's the best part. The outage, outages happen all the time. And we're going to get into how to be resilient and how to have balance and being married, even though you have a great career, and having balance, being an entrepreneur twice at a young age, becoming a business owner at 22. We're going to do all that. But before we do, Austin, you got to tell me, what is your definition of excellence?
Well, Matt, I'm not going to lie. I looked up the definition of excellence just to make sure that I was, resourceful, like I try to be, and extremely good or outstanding is a quality of excellence. And when I looked that up, the first thing I asked myself was, well, at what? I think that matters. So, for me, I was thinking about, okay, well, there's a lot of aspects of life or pillars of life that are important to me. And I think a lot of people define it differently. But when I was thinking about what allowed me to excel in my career, that's a big pillar of my life, excel in relationships. I thought about the formula that I think has worked for me over time when I put my mind to something. And that formula is direction plus time, going to take time. And then finally, a whole hell of a lot of effort. So those three combined are going to allow, I think, anybody, if you give yourself enough time, you have the direction because you know why you want something, and every single thing in life that you want is going to take some effort. I think that can make somebody excellent at anything.
If you have direction and time and no effort, I guess you're half-assing whatever you're practicing, so you can't be excellent.
Yeah, all right. Big difference maker.
I almost had to throw a yellow flag at you. I don't know if you know that we do that on this podcast, but just like in soccer, you can get a yellow card. And I thought you were going to throw out just a dictionary definition, and that would have not been good. So you've been safe. We've had a VR review. You do not get a yellow card.
I'm an honest person, though, so I like most people say, like, come on, people are gonna look up.
Everyone has been.
Everyone does.
This is my 166th episode I've recorded. Everyone's been different. Well, let's go back to the start. You've had some big accomplishments. University of Pittsburgh, finance and marketing. So, like we already said, you started a business. You started a branch of College Works after being rookie DM of the year, DM of the year, runner-up, crappy, nominee for manager of the year like me, but you got the DM of the year and the rookie DM of the year. And then you're the founder and one of the controllers of nearly $500 million business that you guys built over 7 years. So there's a lot to talk about in the present, but let's talk about what you did to get here. So let's go way back to high school. What was life like? What were you doing? Where were you living?
Yeah, so I'm from a place outside of Pittsburgh called Gibsonia. So I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. I actually went to University of Pittsburgh later on, but I was a fun kid, a little bit of a handful, maybe a little bit of a rebel too. But I also, even though I had a lot of fun, I was really into sports. So I think that the requirement of sports is to be able to work hard, but then also be disciplined. I wrestled my entire life. So when I was 8 years old, I got into wrestling and I loved every single sport, love activities, but wrestling was something that I excelled at. I know you can't tell how tall I am, but I'm not the tallest person. So
Short people wrestle, right?
that's right. That's right. But I mean, if I didn't say anything, then nobody
No,
know.
we would all know. You are getting a yellow flag. Where's my yellow? I don't even have my yellow flag.
You're not going to put my height on the.
You get a different yellow card. Yellow card. Everybody knew you were short when you said you were a wrestler. Come on, we all know that.
Yeah.
So is sports where you learn the direction? You want to go be the champion or you want to beat that person plus time plus effort equals excellence?
Yeah, it was definitely sports. It was also watching my father as well. And then I'd say I grew up in a pretty great place where there was a lot of my friends' parents that were, doing the right thing. And I also was watching them. So, direction comes from it's kind of simple. It's just watch what.
Well, you're lucky in that you had a good example in your parents and you had a good example in your friends because you forgot about luck as part of that coming to excellence too. But some people are lucky and they've got it. They're not asking the questions and figuring out and engaging to use those role models as probably you did. Were you doing anything besides the sports to get ahead in high school? Were you thinking about one day I want to be, billion-dollar business CEO, or were you not thinking that way yet?
Not really. I mean, I would say that, and I mean, if we're looking back at high school, that's maybe when it changed. So maybe, right? But I grew up where, I was lucky. Like I had a loving family and things, were great. And then they weren't. And actually when I went into high school and I kind of learned a lot of valuable lessons. We didn't have the money that we once did as a family as well too. So I think that was something that kind of made me grow up pretty quick to realize, oh man, if you're going to get ahead or if you want to have things or if you want to just afford to be able to put gas money in the car or buy a car, things weren't going to be given. I had to work hard for them. So it was probably around high school that a lot of not just in sports, you realize, oh, wow, got to work hard and you got to put that type of effort. Also, seeing that I had to pay some bills and I was a little bit on my own starting in high school, that started to say, okay, well, we had money, didn't have money. I liked it better when we had money. So I realized that,
I've had that happen a few times myself. Yeah. I like it way better when I have money. So are you able to say what happened right around high school? No.
Sure. Yeah. So unfortunately, my parents, they ended up having a divorce. And, that was a bummer. And
then all of a sudden there's two households to keep up.
There was two households. Yeah. Okay. And it took a little while and cost a little bit more than it should. And I think that, that is what then made, my parents and then myself and my brother starting to have to figure out, hey, we gotta survive. We gotta work hard. We gotta, be able to stay in the very nice place that we grew up. We were gonna have to be able to, mom was gonna have to go back to work, have a couple jobs. Dad was going to have to start over career wise in certain aspects. So, and I give him a lot of credit. Like by no means, and I'm still extremely lucky because both mom and dad loved us a tremendous amount. So, I had that. So I'm definitely more fortunate for sure. But, it was a tough time for the family. But I think that those type of hardships and those types of things that happen to families, I think that opportunity can come out of them. You get the opportunity to, show what you're made of. And I think that definitely, that on top of sports definitely made me.
Yeah. If you think about it, every time you've had a hardship in your life, you get through it and you're like, wait a second, I've learned something from that. And if you don't have the hardships, you don't learn as much. Also, you and I are pretty positive people. Every negative is an opportunity for something good. So that's kind of how we see things in life. So you're kind of, life's changing while you're in high school. Easy time for life to change too. Easiest time to be able to adjust, sarcastically speaking. And then somehow you make it to college. Where'd you go to school again? Did you go to Temple?
No.
Where'd you
I
go?
went to Washington and Jefferson College for a year and wrestled there. And then I said, wait, I don't want to wrestle anymore. A D3 school, you're still working out a ton, but like you're not getting any money for it.
Yeah.
Pay these tuition bills. I'm like, I gotta figure something else out. It also was a really small school. My W&J was smaller than my high school too. So I didn't love that. And, I was like, hey, I didn't think it was possible initially grade wise that I was going to be able to go to really large university. Cause I was like pretty fixated on like the way that I was going to, sports. You said it yourself. Like I thought that was like what I was going to do, injuries, things like that. Then say, okay, hey, let's think about something else. I still tried to wrestle through college and, it was pretty short lived. And then I said, hey, why don't I challenge myself to see if I could, do what I could do to transfer to maybe a larger university, might offer more opportunities, maybe a household name, maybe a good business school. And so I started trying to think like, why not me? And why not, go for that? And that's what I did. And then I ended up transferring after a year to the University of Pittsburgh. And that's where a lot of opportunities opened up.
Okay. All right. So what was life like at college then? Your sophomore year when you weren't a wrestler anymore and you had all this free time. What was going on then?
No free time.
Was that right when you found College Works right away?
So I didn't have any free time. I actually wanted to get out of college as soon as possible because I unfortunately couldn't get a loan for college. So, dad wasn't able to do it. Mom wasn't able to give up, the ability to have her credit, kind of used towards co-sign a loan. So it was like, if you want to go to college, and it's a blessing in disguise now, because I didn't take on all these loans, but it's a blessing in disguise now. But I ended up having to stroke a tuition check each and every semester. And so I also realized that if I did more credits in that time period to be able to still get a degree, well, I could get through and overcome that. I had some credits taken away from W&J transferring to Pitt, which a lot of students go through, right? So I took 18 credits. So I was like, I'm going to be a little bit busier from a school standpoint. I also had to work almost a full-time job when I first started. So I was actually doing demolition and ripping out carpet and doing all the things that my dad was, saying, hey, go to college so you don't have to do that. Well, we still got to pay the bills. And then I had a guy that came up to I think it was my economic class, and I was sitting in the back of the room, probably had a late night from, either working late, which I did, or out late because I still made sure I had fun in college, and sitting in the back of my econ class. I think it was like an 8 a.m. and a guy named Justin Brown came up and was like, hey, I made $24,000 last summer and I ran a business. And I was like, give me one of those things.
We don't push the money made anymore. Whenever I hear that, kind of makes me cringe because you don't get the money if you're chasing the money typically, but some people absolutely need the money and they make it happen. It's the ones that don't need the money when they're chasing the money. They don't work out that well. But
that's because
they filled it out because you heard the 24 grand.
I filled it out because yes, but then also, and I was trying to figure out like high school to college, I did start studying more entrepreneurs, and I saw sales, and I saw there was, some opportunities to make some money, and social media was showing you some entrepreneurs to make. So I started, it was like right around either senior year of high school to then freshman year of college. That's when that entrepreneurship kind of clicked in my brain. My dad did run a business, so I did see that. But that's when entrepreneurship kind of clicked, where I was like, that's what I want to do, because I think that's how you get freedom. And, then you realize pretty quickly that, well, that freedom has to be earned and skills have to be developed to then be able to do it. And then when you have the skill set able to then make the income, that's when the income can come. So it's like, I did realize with maybe trying a few things or trying to sell a couple things, energy drinks or whatever it was, I was like, holy crap, this stuff is hard. Yeah. So I was like, well, how am I going to be successful? Well, I saw somebody on stage, and that's that direction piece where it's like, well, just follow what successful people done. This guy obviously did really well, and he runs a business. He was confident up on stage. He spoke very well. And I was like, that might make sense to be able to just go and learn a little bit about and have an open mind and see what was good with it. And then the money was great as well.
And so you did the first year, did you make more money than he did?
Oh yeah.
And how many people did you have? Like how many different crews? Was it 2, 3? What was it?
I think it was 5.
You had 5 crews going?
Oh yeah.
And you were runner up for manager of the year? Wow. Mm-hmm. I'd be very upset about that.
Very upset, right?
And then, by the way, your DM numbers have been totally smoked. But you were DM of the year, and rookie DM, then DM of the year, crushed it, and then went into business for yourself as a CollegeWorks VP, equity shareholder. And then one day, this is the crazy part, doing a bunch of revenue, and everybody remembers stories slightly differently. What I remember was we had some brand issues. We had some governmental issues in Massachusetts where you had to test their blood all the time. And we weren't going to be able to hire a workforce if we had to test their blood every month. And so that law was getting us in Massachusetts. We had a desire from you guys, the 3 of you and Jeff, to try something new. And you just stopped what you were doing, changed the whole concept, and restarted up with most of the same people, just changed the sticker on the door, and went from running the CollegeWorks business to a whole different business called Home Genius that didn't work with college students anymore. All the district managers and VPs, pretty much many of them stayed the same and became production coordinators or became sales managers or, department heads. But you kept the people, changed the product, and we went through a little bit of a discovery of what products, ended up on roofs, windows, doors, siding, gutters, and then began to grow astronomically. What's wrong about that story of how business starts? So my understanding is you had a business that maybe was becoming a little tough in the area, a little frustrating, thought you could do something better and bigger, and then you just shut it down, kept all the same people, kept the same office, put a new sticker on the window, and in 6 years got over $250 million. 7 years got over $350 million. 8 years getting over $500 million. What's wrong about that crazy story?
Ohio. It was all because Jeff called me, and Ohio was flat, boring. I'm just kidding. If you're from Ohio, I lived there for a little bit. I'm from Pittsburgh too, so there's not much going on either. But I was out in Ohio.
You wanted to get back home? Is that what you're going to say?
I didn't even go home. I went to Philadelphia.
Okay.
But I got that phone call from Jeff, and he's like, hey, I heard you hate Ohio. And it was a joke. It was more about just what my pain point of running that business at the time and what my business partner, Brent and Max at the time, had the pain point of being able to offer our college students at the time a sustainable long-term career. And
so you guys went from just the internship into, few people having a sustainable career, that just the very top, to we can create a year-round business. We got to change it a little bit, and we're going to change our model. Instead of being sometimes a stepping stone to other careers. Some people stay at CollegeWorks, some people leave. You wanted to make it so everybody could stay there forever. And that was the reason for building Home Genius?
It was.
And then you figured out the products, and then you figured out, and as I recall, we started with, I think, windows, and then stopped doing windows and moved to roofs, and then brought back windows, gutters, siding, right? Is that right?
We might even had decks in there too. So, we didn't know what we were doing, but to your point, it was about giving the people the home first. And we had great people that at the time we didn't do a good job of being able to make sure that we had that long-term career path, which I know that we have done now. But at the time we just, we didn't set it up that way and focus it on, and we thought that, hey, our number one mission is to be able to build the business that we're proud of and the home that we can provide for people for long term. And one of the first values that we have at Home Genius is grow long term relationships. And so that was the pain point one. And then it was, hey, while we're at it, we know how to do phenomenal customer service of painting homes when we do manage them correctly. Well, why don't we give that same service and own the entire home? And so we told people that was our idea. Give people a long-term home, own the entire home. They said that's a genius idea. We said, hey, we're going to be Home Genius Exteriors. And if you like it, I'll take credit for, because nobody can remember who actually came up with the Home Genius.
Do you know how we're a national services group?
Yeah. Oh,
you know how that name came out? Mm-hmm. Jeff lying to us and naming our entire parent corporation after his wife.
Yeah,
which
so just like him.
Brilliant move. It's lasted 32 years. So it's an interesting story with Home Genius. So you kind of dove into it. You had some pain points. You wanted everybody to stick around forever, not just seasonally, not just stepping stone. You wanted to increase the ticket item and be a one-stop shop. You wanted to have a brand that you could be proud of. And then you guys got started and you experimented. And it's an interesting growth plan. It was $6 million in year 0, because you shut down an existing business that was doing $6 million in revenue. It was 1.6 million. And then I think it went 6, 12, maybe there was a 20, 35, 72, 160, 350, just keeps going up, millions of dollars, 350 millions of dollars. So that's what, I don't know what your rank is on the Inc. 500, but you got to be in the top. Very small group of companies that went from 1 million to $500 million in 7 or 8 years. Very few companies can do that. And at the same time, your brand is just impeccable online, nothing but the best reviews. Your customers love you. All the Home Genius Cares initiatives you have, taking care of people's houses, taking care of Ronald McDonald House, different charities, different military initiatives that you guys have had. So just every single way you could measure a business being awesome, you guys have been awesome every year. Oh, and shout out to Victoria, who helps my son be a great brand manager at College Works. Everybody's so generous there with their time and energy. It's a crazy story. What's life like now? You've got this huge business that you're running. What do you do? What skills do you need? What are you glad that you know how to do?
And number one is, and it's all soft skills. You're not going to hear me talking about what I, learned in the classroom, but it's number one is leadership. I wake up every morning and sometimes don't sleep as much as I need to, thinking about who is the next leader up, because our mission and the vision that we had, even when we were 12 people, to be the fastest growing, most respected home improvement company. So when you say fastest growing and you offer people a growth opportunity and that's what they're there for, well, you are not going to be able to grow individuals and develop them professionally and personally, because it's a whole heck of a lot of that, if you don't have leadership skills. And so being able to lead people, being able to then have just interpersonal, I talked about personal development, have interpersonal skills to be able to truly care about the people that you are going to work with. But, next thing you know, it's like you are so involved with a lot of these individuals' lives. And so if you don't, truly care about interacting with them and making sure that you are helping them solve the problems in work and out of work, I mean, it's something that, you do on the daily. And if you do that and take care of them, then yeah, it helps. And then of course there's sales and negotiation and strategic planning that we're constantly doing. And I think as you go up in the levels, I mean, you kind of have these basic skills that you just hone in and you grow.
You're developing the skills that, as you were talking, you weren't talking about leadership skills. You were talking about leadership legacy. You have the leadership skills to pick who's coming up next, but one of the great ways to measure leaders by who succeeds them. And did they pick the right person? Did they prep the right person? Did they train the right person? Then you got into interpersonal skills. Well, sales and negotiating, interpersonal skills, so you can read people and use your EQ if you care about people. But I know you pretty well. We forgot to mention this. We mentioned on Brent's podcast when we talked about him and I traveling around to donate money to people and kind of how we bonded. Your and my bond is over you caring, right? I had my aunt Rhodey, and you went out there and she needed some help, and you took care of it, and then you went out there again and took care of the rest of it, even though that wasn't the job.
All right.
We did one side, but the warranty included the other three sides. Um, I think there's some natural that you bring in with you, maybe from way back before high school with those parents of yours, a natural desire to care that you're not born with. I think that's nurtured throughout life. And if you want to be an executive running a really fast growing business, I think you got to care. Most executives, I think, care. And most executives were raised with that moral to care, and they're concerned and they listen. Some aren't, and we get a bad rap. Some entrepreneurs get a bad rap for the small percentage that don't care. But I don't think you can grow a business if you're not sincere. You can fake it. And people, I'm not going to mention any names, right, but you and I have worked with people in the past that they were just full of shit. They didn't care about anybody but themselves. And it just peters out after a few years. Yep. You can tell because they have to get new friends every 4 or 5 years. They got to get new businesses every 4 or 5 years too. It peters out. So you pick good leaders behind you. You got good leadership skills. You honestly care. And honestly, if you're listening to this and you want to be an entrepreneur and you don't honestly care about people, it probably isn't the best job. No. You should be a lawyer. That's the job for lawyers. Lawyers don't give a shit about people. Go be a lawyer. If you want to be, I'm going to get in trouble for this.
You're going to get in trouble for that one.
Get into trouble for this one. It's my show. I'll give myself a card. Hard for talking bad about lawyers. Sorry, that's Brian. Right. I went to lunch with Brian Forbath, from college, who's a president of a law firm. Shout out to Stradley, Yoka, Carlson, and Routh in Orange County, California. So interpersonal skills, sales negotiation, strategic planning. What are you doing on a daily basis? You're hiring people, you're meeting with people, you're coaching people. What do you do? You're inspecting roofs and windows.
I mean, first thing is I start with myself, though. It was funny. I had a guy in the sauna this morning, super early in the morning, because I'm like, gotta focus on myself. It's like I'm focused on making my mental good and working out, doing my gratitude, affirmation, intention every single morning, where I'm just like, working on myself, and then and everybody leaves me alone. I get up early in the morning so that I am left alone, get my workout in, and then I show up in the morning and, I'm very, very structured, very deliberate. Shout out to, a lot of the people that showed me how to have phenomenal time management. That's one that I did leave off on there, Matt, but just being able to be locked in with, the meetings that I need to do to be able to work in the business, the meetings that I need to do to be able to work on the business. I still do interviews. I mean, people can't believe that $300 million, which is what the goal that we're chasing this year, that I will still do some of our in-home sales interviews. I plug holes for some of my sales leaders, and they're like, wait, I'm still meeting with the founder of the company. I'm like, I don't care what my title is. It doesn't matter. It's like, we have a need. We got to find great people. That's literally all this business is having great people and then developing them and training them to be able to be great in the business. And guess what? Then they'll take care of the customers. And so I plug the holes in of the organization that I have, and I am spinning plates. You have a lot of different departments, but that's what that program taught me. I mean, it was one of the most challenging ones, but you talk about being able to knock on doors and, we just passed the $100 million mark. That department in Home Genius Exteriors is able to, where people with no experience, go out, knock on doors and generate leads and manufacture demand to be able to put up $100 million worth of marketing mix in for our business.
So this year, the door knockers brought in $100 million.
$100 million of revenue. And they are phenomenal. I mean, some of the people that I'm working for us is, I love that department still, because that's what I did for so long. That was like how I learned sales. And then in-home sales actually closing whenever you're going and trying to get a home improvement contract that could be tens of thousands of dollars. Our largest contract, $278,000. I mean, that takes a heck of a skill to then be able to go in there and make such an impression with the homeowner, design that home, and then be able to make it make sense when it comes to their affordability of remodeling and beautifying and protecting their home. So I love that part too. Then you got install. the customer experience. My 5 painting crews that I have.
Are you rotating around? So you're spending time in your area overseeing every aspect. You're overseeing the install people, you're overseeing the accounting, you're having HR meetings, you're overseeing sales, and you like to get, so maybe some people would never do the interview or get down. By the way, right before this, that's what I did. I was doing an interview.
Right.
I do 10 a week because I
Mm-hmm.
look at the employees as the customers. I think they are my customer.
I agree with that.
So interesting that you mentioned. So a day in a life, you're basically overseeing and either on top, which said about before, strategically thinking, strategic planning, all the way down to doing interviews and hiring people, maybe even training people. But I don't know. I don't think I did this when you worked at CollegeWorks. Did we do the life planning for the district managers? Ever do that Me Tool thing with you from EO? No. So nowadays, if you're a district manager, so I can make sure I have meetings with all the district managers. I do one-on-one meetings with them every month for a half hour, and we work on a life plan for them. And I tell them, like, everybody I know has their goals laid out, has some sort of a life plan. Like, it's really rare if someone doesn't have that. Mm-hmm. And then I tell them they all have these morning routines and these evening routines, and everybody's got it. And even if you don't have a routine, sometimes you do have a routine. So my wife has the best one, by the way. My wife has
that is my wife.
Oh my God. Got a good routine. Well, my wife doesn't work, which is why her morning routine lasts till about 4 p.m. But oh my God, she's got meditate, journal, think, has reading, has her meeting that she goes to, her women's meeting, usually has a friend circle lunch type thing, has like things that she accomplishes in the afternoon because she has a small business that she runs, and then comes back and has a great evening routine, which used to be make food for the family because she's a chef. She skips that now, and we order DoorDash all the time since we're empty nesters. But the evening routine rotates back down, again, the stretching, the rolling, the reading. I do not have the routine she does, but I think it's interesting. Do you know anybody that's, in your successful friend circle group that doesn't have their goals laid out and doesn't have a morning and an evening routine? Pretty much no one.
Right.
And
I challenge myself to think, because, there are some people, but they all have their own definition of a routine, and maybe they can't spit it out, but you see what they do and they're very much like locked into.
Yeah. You have shit that you're going to get done before you get your shit done. And you're going to have shit that you're going to get done after you get your shit done, because you're always getting your shit done. And you have goals. And maybe your shit done is having a great wedding in Italy. Maybe getting your shit done is having a great vacation. Maybe your shit done is visiting your family. Maybe getting your shit done is taking care of some charitable event. But you're always on it. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And ramping into day and ramping out of the day matters. Well, now you got me on my soapbox again. Sorry. I do have to ask you a couple more questions. First of all, you did CollegeWorks. You did it really well. Is there anything I don't know what percentage of our listeners are CollegeWorks, but CollegeWorks pays for the podcast. Is there any advice you have for a CollegeWorks person? Probably when this airs, it'll be February. They're starting out in their sales and their marketing. Any advice, or that'll be the first one. Second one, when you look back to your CollegeWorks, what was one thing that you struggled and how did you get through it?
Okay. So first question is freaking go for it. You just got to go for it. I was an and person. I challenge myself to people go, do you want this or that? Man, I'm always thinking of how I can do it all, how I can go for it. And you careful about the do it all, right? Because you want to do these things very well. And that's what I mean is do all these things very well. So when people ask me, it's go for it. It's an and person. I surround myself by and people too. I got people in my business that go, hey, Austin, we're not an or company. We're an and company. So you just got all these people saying, how do we make it happen?
And it's Spencer running around going, we won't have the tyranny of or. I used to hear that all the time.
That's right.
It is the tyranny of or. We will not do that.
You're damn right. Spencer the intenser. He's intense about and.
And and's a much better word. Much better word. Okay, so go for it all. So your advice would be go for it all for the college student. Go for it all. Have the 19 crews. You had 5 crews. I tell people the max is 3. Get all the customers, do all the experiences, go to all the payrolls, and if there's, we had a struggle with something. I mean, I know you did. Everybody that's the whatever of the year at some point in time was the worst of the year too. So what did you do to get over your biggest struggle as a college works? Let's say intern.
You're saying college works intern. I mean, there was dark times. I mean, we're talking about, those 5 crews in July, not making a cent.
Yeah.
Am I going to make money? Every single job's open, not closing them out. Brent's like, oh my gosh, my number one guy, is he gonna make it through this thing? Bounce from job site to job site. So heck yeah. Oh, and my now wife, she was also a college intern.
Yeah.
So I'm also worried about making sure her crews are doing a good job. I'm painting her houses. I'm doing whatever it took that summer. Yeah, it's stressful. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I did listen. I was stubborn at first. I'm a stubborn guy, but then I did listen. I took my time. I took a step back to say, hey, I'm going to take a couple steps forward. And I did focus on the one thing. I was like, okay, this job, what do I need to do all the way through to the finish line? Make sure that I over communicate, make sure that I'm giving up sleep. I'm making some sacrifices. I definitely had to make some sacrifices in regards to, whether that was hanging out with friends, whether that was going home to see family. It's like, I was going to do whatever it took. And at the end of August, so from July, every single job open. A lot of people have been like, oh my gosh, like, is this going to be one of the worst college works intern story that we ever had, to getting the job done by the end of August? I think I had like a $50,000 week, the 1 week, which at that time, I mean, that's pretty big for an install.
Well, we've cleaned things up since you guys left, and we don't allow that to happen anymore. Please do not. If you're listening and you work at College Works, do not start another job until you've gotten that check from that customer that gets you every single time. And that's how you get good customer relations. That's what they do at Home Genius. They solve the customer's problem. They take care of the customer if there is a problem. Usually there isn't, before everybody moves on to the other job. But so I don't know what the lesson is there. Lesson is just go for it all and just suck it up, and you're going to suffer. If you're shooting for the records, you're shooting for the moon, you're going to suffer.
Yeah.
I think so too. I know that if there was some business,
I'm not going to sugarcoat it,
business guru around here, they'd say, don't tell people they're going to suffer. Yeah. You're going to suffer a little bit to be able to win later on. You're going to pay the piper sometime. That which brings short-term pain oftentimes brings long-term pleasure. That which brings short-term pleasure, like eating ice cream, can bring long-term pain, like having to get on that damn treadmill at 5:30 in the morning, which you're reminding me that I need to start doing more. All you got to do is stop eating the ice cream. You don't have to work out 2 hours a day. All you got to do is chase after a little pain, and later on in life, you can eat more ice cream. I don't know if that analogy makes any sense, but I'm going to leave it on the tape.
I'm an and person, so I eat the ice cream. I wake up in the morning and run those miles and get in the face and all that good stuff. Been boxing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. So you, when you were younger in life, even though you're pretty damn young, had to make a sacrifice that you at the time thought was the biggest deal, and you couldn't believe it. And how do I have to do this? And why do I have this choice? And then you did it, and you're so pissed off because you had to make this choice. And then you look back and you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I made that sacrifice. What was it?
I had a couple that came to mind initially. I think it worked out, but I did decide, and I had to make a decision, but I did decide to move to Ohio. And at that time I had a serious girlfriend that was still in Pittsburgh and had her career in Pittsburgh. And I had to weigh the moving to Ohio and starting my business, which was my dream and my goal, and then just staying in Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up. And, I knew that could be the easier way to be able to make sure that I was staying with her and close to her. And I will say I did make that decision pretty quickly. I knew what I wanted to do. I also communicated how important what I wanted to accomplish in my career and my, what I ended up accomplishing in life and getting to that, freedom that I always wanted and was chasing. So, I made the decision to move to Ohio, and we did long distance, and it wasn't that long. I mean, you're talking about 3.5 hours right? But at the same time, it's like,
It's long. It's not 3.5 seconds.
Not 3.5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's and if time away and not being right, we spent every moment together in college, right? So that was a huge deal. And that was definitely a sacrifice that I had to make to go after what I wanted to do. And not just her, but then friends and family and where I grew up too. I mean, it was from leaving them, because a lot of people do not leave. A lot of people maybe that would listen to this also realize that like their hometown, most people don't ever leave it.
Yeah.
And because sometimes it's comfortable and they're secure. But yeah, that was something that I did, and that was a sacrifice that I made. And
how old will you be in 2028?
2028. Now I got to do math. I'll be 34.
34. So the little sacrifices we make, moving away. My daughter goes to Northeastern. Her boyfriend lives here. She had to make a sacrifice to get her college degree. You had to go start your business. The sacrifices you make to be 34 years old and have $1 billion business you started. Wow. Thank God that you did that. Speaking on behalf of all your partners, I want to say thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for succeeding. Thank you so much for that vision that you had to be the fastest growing company that you would also be proud of. I thought that dual vision is you can be fast growing and burn a lot of things. It doesn't last long. It lasts long. You can grow for a couple of years, but you're not getting into the billions really fast if you're not also something that you're proud of. Thank you for your lifelong friendship, morals, and all the nice things you've done for Jill's Aunt Rhody. Shout out to Aunt Rhody, who will be seeing you again, Aunt Rhody. We're back in Erie.
We do more services now, Andrew.
We got lots of stuff we can put on your house. All right, Austin. We will be taking care of Aunt Rhody eventually. Thank you very much for making time. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for coming on The Edge of Excellence.
Thanks, Matt.